can I?
It's a slightly rosy picture. Can I just pick that up? I mean, only 2005, which you mentioned, before. So in your sort of scenario, it was the Western troops going in 2006 that led to the war getting worse.
No.
Foreign troops on the ground made things worse.
I think that was part of the problem, but the roots of, but the memo that we wrote at the end of 2004 made the case that the narco-mafia state had become to coalesce because of the decisions to continue to pay the warlords and support the warlords. Because the roots of that were...
Because it struck me that the corruption at the beginning was so entrenched that right at the very beginning, there's an area of, in fact, was a large fortress, and towards the end of the 19th century, if anyone knows Kabul, Wazir Akbar Khan, the area where many Westerners live, is in what was a huge fortress and built in the 1860s and 70s, where the British were besieged for a while in the Second War, only briefly. And the Afghan army kept a big part of that land, and the rest of the land became a suburb, really, a rather beautiful suburb, full of very, very nice villas which Westerners live in nowadays. In fact, the name of the area is Wazir Akbar Khan, when Wazir Akbar Khan, and the Afghan will tell you, was the leader of the slaughter of the British in 1841. So it's a slightly ironic name. But part of that area is now full of villas which are changing hands for $2-3 million each, and they are built on land that was stolen from the state by the very first people put into power in 2001. In fairness to the UN nation builders who came after Bonn, many of these mistakes were literally in the first few months. The first people who came into Kabul seized the country in the old-fashioned way. And if you drive around Kabul with the chief of police, as I've done, he'll say, that street there, you see that house there, that's owned by this bloke, this villa, this narco baron. That one over there, he took it from somebody else. That's owned by that narco baron. And there are some individuals who stood out against corruption, but the corruption is pretty deeply entrenched now, and it means that middle-ranking customs officials are being shot, arrested, or sidelined right across the country if they don't hand over the money to these corrupt officials who are very closely connected to the central government. So you have a system in which Western money isn't really working because of the corruption that's so deeply entrenched. And I mean, I think we should, rather than sending in mentors for all these Afghans, we should send in bodyguards for the decent middle-ranking non-corrupt officials and try and protect them, because they're the people who are going to hold the country together.
Can I just ask you, because I think this is a very crude question, but could you explain to us what we ought to think about the Taliban? I mean, I think there's been a huge conflation between the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. I think that we think, and there are two obviously horny issues, one of which is, everybody's hackles, I want to come on to that, where Taliban are nasty to women, therefore we are against the Taliban. So can you explain to us the relationship of the Taliban to Afghan life? Because the Afghans, all of your books show an extraordinary affection and respect, actually, for qualities of Afghan independence and qualities of Afghan life. So what, James, is the relationship of the Taliban to that kind of tradition of life?
I think it's possible to respect Afghans without condoning Taliban methods, and it's quite important to say that. I mean, I don't approve of what the Taliban do any more than, of course I don't. I think there are a lot of what the Taliban stand for is very backward, very reactionary. It's awful, of course it is, and particularly the way they treat women, and that's the most famous thing, and it is real. I mean,
I understand. Should we take a stand against that, though? I mean, it seems to me that's the issue. Of course they treat women terribly, but is that the place that we should...
I think we should take a stand against it, but I don't think we should take a stand against it militarily. I think the way that you change that, the way that the Taliban treat women, is evolutionary, not revolutionary, I suppose, and you do it through education, mostly, and it's a slow process. I think we're very quick in the West to condemn the way the Taliban behave and treat women and the rest of it, and we forget that we are very far from perfect ourselves in this society. It is only 100 years since women had the vote. 150 years ago, women were forced to change in bathing machines and so on and so on.
Maternal mortality in Afghanistan has gone dramatically up. I mean, under our watch, it's got worse for women.
Yes, it has, and there is a very, very strong human right, and of course there is. But I don't think that British or Western soldiers should be dying for women's rights in Afghanistan. It's a very hard-nosed, realpolitik line to take that, but I think that we're not quite there. I have to say that, having been world's greatest cynic on what's going on, I do rather admire the American yes we canism that's going on at the moment. I mean, it is absolutely amazing in the teeth of tremendous European apathy and cynicism. Here come the Americans, and God bless them, they are absolutely amazing. But we are right at the end of the window of opportunity where something can be done. This is the last chance that we've got to get this right. And I support absolutely the return to the comprehensive approach and this injection of civilians to try and get corruption down and so on. And this is the last chance to do it. But I do remain in the end a cynic, and I think we're going to end up having to treat with the Taliban. We won't like it much from a moral point of view, and people will shout and scream, but in terms of actual Western interests, I come back to the point, there has never been a Taliban bomb in a London street, and in realpolitik terms, we can't afford to pursue, to make the world better in this soft way through military hard power. We simply can't afford it. We haven't got the helicopters, we haven't got the men. NATO won't take part, and we're running out of military resources to do it. Plus, Pakistan is joining the fight, and once that's gone, it's all over, as far as I can see.